In every service relationship, whether it's with an external customer or it's between you and one of your internal service partners, there are things that both parties want in the relationship. Now, some of those things are so fundamental to the relationship itself that we could call them simply basic. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm going to take a taxi, right? Basic for me is that the taxi should have 4 wheels. And in addition to having 4 wheels, it should be able to get me from point A all the way over to point B safely. You know, I don't have any problems with my livelihood along the way. This is basic. There are some things that people want, though, in these service relationships that are a little more than just basic. We could say that, well, they're normal to the relationship. They're not basic, but they are expected. For example, when I get into a taxi, I expect that the taxi driver knows how to get me from point A to point B. I mean, it's his city. He doesn't sit there and go, how do you get there, huh? Or if I have a bag with me that needs to go into the boot in the back of the taxi, I expect that he's going to have some space inside the boot for my bag. You know, that doesn't always happen these days. Sometimes you open up the boot and inside, oh, you see the buckets and the bags and the things that all belong to the taxi driver. Well, okay, it's basic. He has a boot, but he doesn't even have the space that I expect for my bag. Now, there are some things that happen from time to time that you hope for. It would be nice. It's a little more than just what's expected. Well, let's go up another level and call this desired. That which you hope for, but you don't always get. For example, that taxi driver might be a nice fellow. You know, might chat me up a little bit on my way from point A to point B. Or if I show up with bags to go in the boot, he doesn't just sit there and pop open the boot and wait for me to put them in. He gets out of the taxi, he comes over and, you know, he gives me a hand. I hope for that. It doesn't always happen. But when it does, it's something that I desire. Now, there's another level higher than desired. It's the one that surprises you. I mean, it rarely happens, but when it does, it's like, oh, how nice. Let's call that level unanticipated. Unanticipated. You don't expect it. It's surprising when it comes, and it's a nice surprise. For example, when I come back from the airport, frequently I have a number of bags with me, heavy bags. And the taxi driver brings me over to the parking lot of my apartment, except I live in a condominium up at the penthouse on the 21st floor. You know, there's a good bit of distance between the parking lot and the elevators. It's up to 20 yards. Now, every once in a while, it doesn't happen all the time, but once in a while, the taxi driver will actually get out, not only help take my bags out of the boot, but he'll say, let me help you with that, Mr. Kaufman. He'll pick up the bags and go ahead and bring them over to the elevator with me and put them down. That's unanticipated. It's a surprise, and I like it. You know, every service relationship is a two-way street, right? So if he does something surprising and unanticipated like that for me, what will I do for him? That's right. I'll give him a tip, and I'll give him a surprisingly nice tip. Now, there is another level of service relationship that's even above unanticipated. It's when you get a kind of service that's just so incredible. You know, it stands out. You tell other people all about it. Let's call that unbelievable. Really incredible. Of course, when you deliver a level of service that's this high, you become a service legend. It becomes the kind of stories that people love to tell other people about. So let me tell you 3 specific stories about unbelievable. One of them that has to do with unbelievable product. Another that has to do with unbelievable delivery. And a third that has to do with unbelievable service mindset. Well, first, let's take a look at the product. Imagine a lot of you sitting out here are wearing a little something on the side of your belt. Every once in a while it goes beep, 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 beep. You know what I'm talking about. A beeper. Well, when beepers first came out, they were called beepers because they were very basic items that emitted a loud, shocking screech, and it was appropriate. Because the people who carried those beepers were emergency medical technicians, computer operators, people who needed to be beeped out of their life and make sure they responded. Well, beepers didn't stay there as a product. They started to move up. people said, hey, there are some times, like when I'm in a concert, I don't want to be beeped. Isn't there another way that you can let me know that I've received a phone call? And so they became known more as pagers, because now you could set them to beep, or you could set them to alert you in another way. And so somebody would be sitting there in the concert, and suddenly they go, because their beeper had become a vibrating pager, and they knew that the phone call was for them. Well, the product didn't stay still there either. It continued to move up. And now desired is, hey, people said, I don't just want to get a numerical page. Don't just tell me the phone number. I mean, give me the message as well. And so alphanumeric pagers came out onto the market, and it was really a nice desired innovation. Even there, the product doesn't sit still. Today, you can send a message, surprisingly, without ever picking up the phone. You can reach somebody's pager just by typing a little note into your computer network. It goes out automatically. Boom. He knows he can see the message right there. Well, the product of pager continues to innovate, continues to climb up the stairs to give the customer additional value. And today, unbelievable, some companies are working on a pager that alerts you that you received a call by emitting an odor. So you're sitting at dinner and you go, excuse me, phone's for me. And not only will you be able to have an odor emit to tell you your call has come, you can program the odor. So depending upon who the call comes from, you'll know. For example, roses. Must be my girlfriend. Excuse me, I've got to go make a call. Or you'll be sitting there and it smells like money. It must be my broker. Hold on, I'm going to call you right back. In fact, there's even one setting for my mother-in-law.